Hi, this is Ed Amoroso. I want to welcome you back to Tag Talk. And today I want to do a couple of things. I want to take you through a very cool company called Dtex. But in doing that, I want to give you a little bit of insight into this profession that I'm part of now, which is being an industry analyst. I want to show you kind of how we go about thinking through the effectiveness and kind of the future prospects for cybersecurity companies and increasingly AI companies, AI tech companies, and when that confluence happens between cyber and AI, that's real wheelhouse stuff for us at TAG. But here, let me first tell you a little bit about Dtex, because I've known this company for a while, and then I'll give you a little insight into the way we think about them. So they do insider risk management, which has been a big problem forever. I mean, if you take a moment to think about the idea of cybersecurity and trust, you can see how twisted it gets when you can't trust the people that you've more or less given the responsibility to ensure that security is implemented. If you can't trust them, then you got a big problem. It's almost like the foundation of your entire security architecture crumbles. I come from an early kind of Unix security background, come from that world. And you can think of it almost as if the people who had super user or root permission couldn't be trusted. Think about that. They can do anything they want on the system, and that's something we've come to refer to as insider risk. So around 2000, literally 25 years ago, Mohan Koo and a couple others, these are Australians, came up with what I think is a very good idea for implementing some controls around insider risk by viewing behavior, and it was sort of the early beginnings of behavior analytics. Today, I think they use the term insider risk intelligence at Dtex. I like that idea very much. But let me give you a little insight into when someone asks us about the company, the kinds of things that we do. Now, we have this 10-point kind of framework, we call it a TAG Navigator, that allows us to look at the company and almost do sort of a Siskel and Ebert on the company. We're not really ingesting or scraping from websites. We're rendering our opinion. I want to give you a few examples. Like number one would be the funding amount that the company's taken. Now, it's neither good nor bad to take a lot or a little bit of funding. You want to take the appropriate amount of funding. And I would say that this is an example of a company that has taken the appropriate amount. It's about 140 million over a nice period of time. They started in 2014. So say over the last decade, they've taken that amount. That feels like the right amount. Like if you told me that they'd taken 10 million, I'd be sort of nervous that there's not enough capital for this kind of platform. But if you told me they took $900 million, I'd be worried that they're sort of drowning in investor nervousness to move and get a return on their investment. So we would give them very high marks for the appropriateness of their investment. I think it's right. So you can see it's almost like this bell curve where it's not that you have too much, not that you have too little, you have an appropriate amount. Second thing would be where they are on their journey. Now, they've been around for 25 years. They started their funding maybe about 11. Feels like they've been around a while. Now, that's okay. Like I run a bootstrap company at TAG. If you don't have investor dollars, you could run for 50 years. Every one of you know a restaurant in your neighborhood where it's passed down. It's a restaurant. There's no investors. It's profitable. You could go forever. As long as you're profitable, you can run the business forever. But when you do have investors and you've been going a while, we usually expect that something's going to happen. So for Dtex, we would expect sooner or later there's going to be some sort of transaction because investors like to get their money back. Another factor that we look at is whether the company is solving a real problem. Like, what is the purpose of the platform? And we love the purpose here. As I said earlier, insider risk is something we hear all the time. I could go on, but you get the idea. Like, that's how we look at a company and evaluate its effectiveness. We try to render, based on our experience and judgment, a very fair sort of rating, literally a numeric rating from 1 to 10 that we collate, we normalize into an aggregate number. And for Dtex, we like this company very, very much. Let me summarize a few points about Dtex, and you can read this in a report that we've put up on our site. You can read our thoughts on Dtex. But number one, excellent choice for insider risk management. I don't think you can really go wrong with this company. We've met and worked with the founders, good team and a good product. Number two, as I said, they've been around a while, and we would expect that at some point they're probably going to make some sort of a corporate move They have the investment. They've been around a while. We'll see. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means something is likely to happen. And we always watch carefully because we don't want to see operational impacts when there's a financial transaction. And then third, my usual comment about AI. AI is so disruptive to every cybersecurity company that you want to take a look at whether AI, the use of AI, ingesting data and making predictions, you want to see how that's going to either enhance the ability of a vendor to do IRM or maybe disrupt it. We'll see how it goes. These are experienced entrepreneurs running the company, by now experienced executives. I think they'll figure out a way to jockey this, and I'm generally pretty bullish about the company. So I hope that's helpful. I hope you'll read the report. Make sure that you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. The subscriptions are useful to us because we know you're there. We can see it growing. And as I've been doing these videos, we've been watching the subscriber count grow. It's very exciting. I check it perhaps a little more often than I should, but I do. So I hope you'll subscribe, and we'll look forward to talking to you on the next one.